Hi everyone, this is Josh Blatt with BW Modern. Today we're going to talk about fillers. Fillers are a really important part of any kitchen or bath design. They're going to be the tool that we're going to use to space the cabinetry away from the wall or other cabinets so we don't run into problems with doors and drawers hitting other things, when they're opening and closing. So if we go into the catalog tab of the 3D Designer, which is, located over here in the left-hand sidebar, if we go down towards the bottom, you'll see the tab that says End Panels and Fillers. From there we have base ends and fillers, we have wall ends and fillers, and we have tall ends and fillers. Like I said, today we're going to just concentrate on fillers and kind of take a look at what they are and what they do. So I'm going to start with a base filler here. And as you can see, we have base fillers with backers. We have right hand and then we have left hand. So, what I'm going to do to use a filler is, say I've got a room design that's, maybe 40 inches wide, and it's maybe 36 inches deep, and I got a pretty simple bathroom that I'm wanting to do. That's just a single sink or something like that, or maybe it's a utility sink, and we're just going to put a 36-inch sink in there. So, and we got walls on either side, so we have to space our cabinetry out a little bit for that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my fillers. So I'm going to bring in a right hand filler, and then I'm going to go back into the catalog, and I'm going to bring in a left-hand filler. Now once I bring those fillers into the designer, you can see here in the sidebar I have some options for placement. So if I want my left-hand filler to touch the left-hand wall, I'll put it over into the corner. And then I'll do the same thing with my right-hand filler. So from now you can see I've got my two fillers up against the wall, and that's going to be what's going to create our spacing, for our doors to work and things like that. And if you got, a base trim in your house that's running in there, you're going to clear that, or maybe you got some window trim or something like that on the side walls. When we bring our sink base cabinet in there now, that's going to be what's going to provide us our clearance for those things. So that's where you would use your filler, in the corner of a room where you're just, creating a wall-to-wall situation. That's what's going to be able to give you guys your fluff, when you're encountering the wall. So from there, if I go up and I, go back into those filler options, it's the same thing with your upper fillers. We can bring in an upper filler. If we just go down to the walls categories, we'll bring in a wall filler right. And then we'll bring in a wall filler left. Now another thing that's really, really awesome about BW Modern is everything's completely customizable in size. So these fillers, we're not stuck on a 1-inch increment or whatever the other guys are doing. We can make these fillers whatever we want. So in the custom world, my thing I always went for was 1.5 inches. And 1.5 inches is actually the minimum that you can make the fillers in BW Modern, but you can make them any size you want. So if I want to make this one, say 2.5, I can make it 2.5 inches wide. I can make it even 2 and say 9/16 wide if I want. The software doesn't really mind, and we can really do whatever we want there once we type in the appropriate numbers. We can make a 2 and 9/16 filler. This, like I said, it's completely customizable, which is really nice for designing custom cabinets, because you're not stuck with the restraints of standard sizes. You don't want to get stuck in a position where you got to use a 3-inch filler and have a unuseful space in your cabinetry. So, anyways, that's kind of how you would use fillers in a wall-to-wall situation. When you're trying to bring a cabinet in, we can. Same thing here in the sidebar. We can move this thing over here, and then we can set it the distance that we want off of the floor really easily by just typing in those numbers here in the sidebar from floor to ceiling. Make that 54. So then we have that, and now you can see here in BW Modern, it's going to tell you what we have, left in between here. So, this is for whatever reason we had to make a really, kind of funky size fillers on each side to compete with whatever on-site situation we've got. We can see up here on this upper, we need a cabinet now that's 35 and 15/16. So, with BW Modern's custom cabinet size, we can come in here and we can grab a cabinet that's, close to the size that we're looking for, and we can stick it in there, and then we can actually make it that 35 and 15/16. And we have a 100% custom sized cabinet. So, that's a good way to deal with those kind of things when you have, certain situations. It's really nice to have the flexibility to make things whatever size you want. I'm going to go back up to my rooms category here, and I'm just going to make this room wider here so I can show you guys how to use the tall filler. So your tall filler is going to be really the same thing. If you've got a situation where you're putting a tall cabinet, next to a wall, you're going to need a filler. Whether it's a right hand wall or a left hand wall, we can. That's a column. Let me backtrack on that here real quick. Get down here to our fillers. So base filler or tall filler, right? We'll bring that one in. And then same thing, we can stick it there in the corner and stick it next to the wall. And then that's what we're going to use to space our tall cabinet off of the wall. If we just get like a tall pantry cabinet, which is what you'd use for like a linen, and stick it in here. That's going to give us our spacing so we don't run into any issues. The other way that we're going to use fillers is in corners. You're going to need a filler in the corner. So say you're creating a kitchen design and you had a corner situation that you were dealing with, to where we have to create a corner to come around the corner here. So if I go into our catalog, I'm going to go into my base corner cabinets, and I'm going to grab one of my favorite pieces of hardware. I'm going to go for let's go for the base Le Mans left 60. So I'm going to bring that in to the corner here, and it's going to come in. It's good going through some rendering stuff. So see, when you bring the Le Mans 60 in, it actually shows you the really awesome corner solution we have available for that corner. So now that I've got that corner cabinet into the designer, I'm going to go down to my base fillers, because what we're doing here is we're trying to create our corner space to where we're not going to have drawers coming out and hitting handles and things like that, or other things we may be competing with in our design. So I'm going to go down to my end panels and fillers. I'm going to go to my base filler and backer right. Okay, I'm going to put that thing in the designer right there. So now I know that this cabinet here, when I click on it, is 24 inches. Now, one thing that we really want to emphasize here and make sure that everybody's aware of is, 24 inches is your box depth, and then you have another 13/16 plus minus with the door that sits out on top of that. So to make this corner work the way it should, I'm going to take my filler and I'm going to highlight it here, and where I have the option to move it right and left along the wall instead of just sliding it around in space, I'm going to type in 21 or 24.75. Now that's going to space that filler where it needs to be off of this corner to hit this panel here. And now from there, I can start moving my Le Mans corner cabinet over towards the wall. So I'm going to move it over, say 10, and then I can kind of visually look, and if I put it into this kind of view, you can see here, this is my panel space that I'm working with behind the door for this door to function and this corner to function. So that's going to be, if the door is hinged right here, that's going to be what's kind of creating this corner here. If I go back into this thing here, you can see that the countertops, they typically just sit on top of the cabinet. But if I want to kind of make my drawing look a little better, if I click on this cabinet, I can say, okay, it's 10 inches out of the corner here. I can come over to my left hand overhang and I can type in 10, and then it'll just extend that countertop all the way over to the wall. So then now I've kind of created my 90-degree corner here for the rest of the cabinetry to come over off of. I'm going to delete this filler here, and then just kind of as an example, bring this this sink base over here. Now you can see how we've created this corner. So those are the main uses of fillers. Like I said, they're really important. You know, you can't just stick a cabinet into the corner of a wall, or butt them into each other in a corner and expect doors and drawers and things like that to clear each other. So the fillers, like I said, they're a really critical part of the design process of your kitchen and baths.